Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the world of cloud computing, and we're going to do it by looking at one of the biggest players out there, Microsoft Azure. We'll see how it can take a simple idea for an app and give it the power to reach the entire globe.
So let's start with a question that I bet a lot of you have thought about. You've got this amazing, game-changing idea for an app. You're ready to go, but then you hit a wall. A really big, expensive wall. The cost of all the servers, the storage, the networking gear you need just to get off the ground.
And this leads us perfectly into our first section, the entrepreneur's dilemma. To make this real, we're going to follow the story of an entrepreneur, we'll call him John, who is facing this exact problem.
So, here's John. He's got the concept, he's got the drive, he knows his app could be huge. But when he started to price out the traditional way of doing things, buying physical servers, renting space in a data center, he had this sinking feeling that his dream might be over before it even started. He pretty quickly realized he was up against four massive hurdles. First, just the insane upfront cost of buying all that hardware. We're talking a huge chunk of cash. Second, the setup time is just painfully slow. It could take months just to get the equipment ordered and running. Third, you need a team for constant maintenance. Things break. And finally, what about scaling? What if his app goes viral overnight? Or what if it's a slow start? He'd be stuck with either too little power or too much.
Now here's where the story gets interesting. John didn't give up. Instead, he found a way to completely sidestep all of these problems. He found a much smarter way to build. He stumbled upon this thing called cloud computing. And the idea behind it is actually pretty simple, but it's totally revolutionary. Instead of owning all your own computers and servers, you basically rent them from a big provider over the internet. It's kind of like instead of building your own power plant, you just plug into the wall. You get all the power you need on demand.
And this right here shows the difference perfectly. The old way meant huge upfront costs. The cloud, it's a pay-as-you-go model. That slow, months-long setup is now on-demand access in minutes. All that constant maintenance is now handled by the provider. And that huge problem of scaling, it's replaced with automatic flexible scaling. Problem solved.
Okay, so John was totally sold on the cloud. Made perfect sense. The next logical question was, which one? There are few major players in this space, and he had to find the right fit for what he was trying to build.
He ended up choosing Microsoft Azure. The easiest way to think about Azure is to picture this enormous global network of data centers packed with resources and services that you can tap into whenever you want, for anything from running a simple virtual computer to deploying really complex AI models. So, why Azure? Well, for John and his team, it was actually a pretty practical decision. They were already using Microsoft products, like Windows. So picking Azure meant everything would just work together seamlessly. It smoothed out the learning curve and let them start building way faster. And the scale of Azure is just, honestly, it's staggering. It operates in more than 60 regions all around the world. That's more than any other cloud provider out there. And because of those 60+ regions, Azure can provide its services to 140 different countries. Think about that. For an entrepreneur like John, this means he can launch his app and have a truly global reach from day one without ever needing a passport.
But this is probably the most important part for any startup. The financial model. With pay-as-you-go, John didn't need to get a giant loan to buy servers. He could start small, use a service for just an hour if he wanted, and only pay for that hour. This completely flips the economics of starting a tech company on its head. So, let's get into the nitty-gritty for a second. How does John actually take these abstract services and turn them into a real functioning app? Well, it all comes down to Azure's core building blocks. It really boils down to three fundamental pieces. First is compute. This is the engine. Think of things like virtual machines that run your app's code. Second, you've got networking, which is what connects all those virtual machines together securely. And third, you have storage, a place to keep all your app's data, from user profiles to photos. And here's the really cool part. These exact same building blocks, compute, networking, storage, they don't just work for startups. They scale up to power some of the largest companies on the entire planet. This isn't just a sandbox. It's an enterprise-grade engine. I mean, take a look at these names. Boeing uses Azure to crunch massive amounts of data from flight simulations to build safer airplanes. BMW connects its factory robots using Azure's IoT services. Samsung runs its entire global smart TV platform on it, and eBay has been hosting applications on Azure for years. So what does this all mean for you? Well, understanding a platform like Azure is more than just learning about a cool piece of tech. It can actually be really powerful and direct step forward in your own career. For anyone in the tech field, getting an Azure certification is a concrete way to prove you have these in-demand cloud skills. And it pays off. It often leads to much higher salaries, sometimes a 20 to 40% bump. It opens up all kinds of career paths like cloud architect or DevOps engineer, and it just shows employers you're serious about your craft.
And that really brings us right back to where we started. The barriers that used to stop people from building something powerful and scalable, they've pretty much been torn down. The same tools that power global giants are now in your hands. So the real question isn't about what can be built anymore, but what will you build with it?